Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing NieR Automata on the GeForce GTX 1060 3GB for FPS monitoring. This time I won't be using cam since it's not currently working with this game, so I'll be just using the overlay from the FAR mod. I'll explain what's that in a second, and if you want to support me, there are Humble and Amazon affiliate links down in the description. So NieR Automata, I'll be doing 1080p, 1440p and 4K. To skip 10 of those sections of the video, check the description below. So well, first of all, I need to clarify a couple things. This game is not very well optimized according to most people, so since the developers didn't release any patch to fix any of the problems since day one, the community had to make a mod to fix it, or try to fix it. So this mod is called FAR. You can find it down in the description. Well, what this does is gives you more options to tweak the game. So once the mod is installed, you gotta bring up a menu pressing Ctrl-Shift Backspace. That will open up a window and that will allow you to tweak some stuff. So the lighting option by default is on ultra. You cannot tweak it without the mod. So you have off, low, medium, high and ultra. If you lower it to medium, you get a good FPS boost, but if you turn it off, you get a massive boost in performance. The problem with that is that it breaks the visuals a little bit, especially if you turn it off. But if you don't care about that, it's not that big of a difference visually, at least in my opinion, but you can see it yourself since it changes in real time. Lighting controls the global illumination, which is the game trying to simulate light bouncing, since in real life light bounces off surfaces many times, so you can just control the quality of that, the global illumination, which is usually a big performance hit, and it is here. So I suggest you just try it out. On 1080p for 60 frames per second pretty much all the time. You can just crank up shadows, effects, ambient occlusion, blur, all that kind of stuff, except in lighting, which I recommend putting on medium for 1080p. And that will allow you to be over 60 frames per second pretty much all the time. Since this game was made to run at 60, I recommend to use that setting. Then I show you 1080p, but this time I crank up the lighting to ultra to show you that we can get close to 60 frames per second, but it drops. So if you don't care much about performance, that should be a good option for you. Then I switch to 1440p, and this time around I just lower shadows to medium, turn off the lighting option from the FAR mod, and that should be enough to be pretty much over 55 frames per second most of the time. And again, if you don't care about the performance that much, just max out the game at 1440p and crank up the lighting option. I recommend in that case, if you want to be over 30 frames per second, to just put lighting on high and the rest of the options menu on the highest, except in anti-aliasing, but I'll talk more about that in a second. And at the end of the video I show you 4K. For this I overclocked the GTX 1060, you can see the current memory clocks down in the description. I basically added 100 MHz to the core and 400 MHz to the VRAM, and well, here I had to put everything to the minimum. On the options menu and on the lighting option. On the lighting option I just turned it off, and that was enough to be over 30 frames per second pretty much all the time. I don't recommend this one, it looks the worst for saying it some way. You're using the lowest settings on lighting, shadows, ambient occlusion, but you get a higher resolution, but you cannot get 60 frames per second, so at the highest resolution I would go is 1440p if you don't care much about the visuals, but you got the option to do 4K if you want. If you got the 1060 6GB, you won't have much of a difference compared to this. You have like 5 FPS more. For example, the VRAM here is not an issue. It's not even close to 3GB at 4K. So that should tell you something. A couple important things about the options menu. You have an anti-aliasing option. You have 4 times, 2 times and 8 times. The bad thing there is MSAA, the anti-aliasing option, which is a very intensive anti-aliasing solution. I recommend avoiding it in this game. It's a bigger performance impact than usual. And the ambient occlusion option is not only ambient occlusion, it also uses some post-processing anti-aliasing on top of it. So if you want less yaggies, I recommend enabling ambient occlusion. It's ambient occlusion plus a good looking post-processing solution. It seems to be SMAA or something like that. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.